Hi there, welcome to the 2023 Firefighter Info Session with the Edmonton Fire Rescue Services. Today we're going to talk a little bit about the fire department, talk about a recruitment process and some of the tweaks and minor changes that we've implemented for the 2023 recruitment process. My name is Graydon Cornfield. I've been a firefighter with the City of Edmonton since 2015, and I'm currently part of our Outreach and Recruitment Liaison team. And I'm joined here today with my coworker, Manjinder Negra.
Hi, thank you for taking the time to look through this presentation with us. Like Graydon said, my name is Manjinder Negra. I've been with Edmonton Fire Rescue Services since 2016, and I'm also working with Graydon as part of the Outreach and Recruitment team. I'm going to hand you back over to Graydon and we'll start on the presentation.
We're going to start the presentation with a nice video that will kind of give you a good backstory of what we're going to talk about today and a little bit about what the job entails.
You got to have grit. You got to have perseverance, right? You got to be of that kind of strong character. Yet the number one thing is teamwork.
I love the physical aspect of it. I love the teamwork aspect, and I love being a part of another family.
When you actually see the impact you can have on people's lives daily, it is really rewarding.
That's something that I feel like I get out of this job almost every single day.
I enjoy hall life. I enjoy being at the hall, my coworkers.
It feels like family. Like when I go into the hall, I feel like I can just be myself. We train together, we cook and eat together. There's a sense of camaraderie there.
I've never really been bored. There are so many different avenues that you can take once you're in the job. You can work at the training school, you can work as an investigator, you can work into a specialty.
The way our system is with the seniority system, it's a very nice puzzle where you get to learn and be mentored through right up to the top, and then now you're in charge of making the decisions. And our schedule is very nice. Yes, we work a lot and we work hard, but we also have a lot of time that we can be with our families, so that was very important for me.
There are times though where there are certain things that are difficult. You go to some calls that stick with you.
Mental health was ignored a lot through the 70s, 80s, and 90s, and we decided to change that and start really understanding it and learning about it. We rolled out different programs, the Road to Mental Readiness, mental health first aid.
There are supports for you to deal with it on an ongoing basis or after the fact.
We are focusing on being reflective of the community and working towards adding more diversity to our ranks.
The fire department responds to calls in all corners and extremes of those different areas of diversity. And I do think that it is very important then that we have membership that can relate to all those different areas as a membership together.
People who want to help people obviously make great firefighters. People who've been part of teams and teamwork being really important make great firefighters. Physical fitness is an important part of firefighting, but so is empathy for the people that we serve. So is problem solving. You can't always just break down a door to get into something and fix it. You sometimes have to think things through.
Don't get discouraged by being told no. There's a certain amount of spots every single year. It's hyper competitive. Get out there, experience it, meet firefighters, go to the fire halls, meet some of the people that are working there, go to the open houses.
You have to keep striving to get to where you want to be, and that's when you kind of realize that, yeah, I can do it.
So what makes us who we are? At Edmonton Fire Rescue Services, our mission is to protect life, property and the environment, and our vision is to make Edmonton a safer, more livable city by providing the best fire rescue service in North America. Our core values are service, safety, relationship and teamwork. Service being that we fulfill our mission to serve the public 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. Safety, we make public safety and firefighter safety our number one priority through ongoing training, development and innovation. And relationships, we build and maintain public trust through integrity, dedication, professionalism and accountability. And with regards to teamwork, we work together as a team. We can only achieve our mission and our other core values by working closely with our internal and external partners. About Edmonton Fire Rescue Services. There are roughly about 1,300 operational members, with 218 members being on shift at any given time. And this is how we provide the staffing of 24 hours a day, 365 days a year throughout the 4 shifts that we do have. There are currently 30 fire stations operational, and as the city grows, so will the fire department as well, and our coverage. Specialities within Edmonton Fire Rescue are technical rescue, hazmat or investigation, or the training team at the training school. There are also 2 other avenues of employment to join the team, which are dispatch and prevention. The difference being between these is that if you join as a operational member and go through this recruitment process that we are talking about now, you do have the option from being a frontline member and joining TR, hazmat, investigations, or the training school, and then progressing over towards dispatch and prevention. But if you feel that you just want to go into dispatch or prevention to start, then if you at a later date decided you wanted to ride the trucks and join operational services, you would then still need to go through the full operational recruitment process.
So I'm going to take you through basically a day in the life of a firefighter, what it's like in the hall. So it's not like a traditional career or job that you've had in the past. It's a little bit different. So when we first start, we get there a little bit early. The first priority we do is to relieve the other firefighter on the truck that we're replacing for the day. We have to do this because obviously, like Manjinder said before, we provide coverage 365 days a year and 24 hours a day. So we have to go in and let that firefighter know that we're replacing them and they're good to go home. Then after that, I'd start on all my truck checks. I'd make sure the truck is ready to go and operational, because at the end of the day, we can get a call at any time. So make sure all the medical equipment's stocked up, make sure all the SCBAs are full, make sure the truck has fuel, and just make sure all those things are ready to rock. So checking batteries, all that good stuff. Once I've done my truck checks in the morning, at that point, I know that the truck is ready to go. We will usually do a morning meeting. So around 9 o'clock, we'll do a morning meeting in the kitchen of the fire station. And fire stations are a little bit different than other working environments, where it's basically like a house. So we have a kitchen, we have dorms, we have a gym, we have bay, we have classrooms, things like that. So we'll meet in the kitchen at around 9 o'clock in the morning, and our station captain will go over the duties of the day, talk about any standard operating procedures or guidelines or bulletins that have come out recently. We might talk about what we have to do for the day. So maybe we're going to a community engagement, a community event, maybe have training. So we'll have that morning meeting at 9 o'clock. After that, we will clean the entire fire station from top to bottom as a crew. So we don't have a custodial staff. We actually do this ourselves, and we take a lot of pride in this. So we'll clean the fire station top to bottom ourselves. We do a good job, very thorough, and make sure it's nice and spotless. And after we do that cleaning, our next item that we'll usually focus on is lunchtime. So that'll bring us to about lunchtime. So we'll take the truck, we'll go get groceries, and we'll go purchase groceries to make a meal together. This is something that is a big benefit of our career. It promotes team bonding and team building. So someone will make a meal, or we'll make a meal together. We'll have a good meal. Everyone will pitch in a little bit of money from their own pocket and purchase the food. We'll eat that food for lunch. We'll clean up lunch, and then from there on, it depends in the afternoon. If you're a very seasoned firefighter and you're comfortable with your skills and your knowledge, you might take some downtime to go work out or do something else that you have on the go. If you're a more junior firefighter, maybe a probationary firefighter, you might take this downtime in the afternoon to study and get to know the information and the tools and the equipment and the trucks a little bit better, so you feel more proficient. That will bring us to about 4 o'clock in the day. Around 4 o'clock in the afternoon, we will clean the trucks. We clean the trucks twice a day. Depending if it's too cold, we might not, but we want the trucks looking fresh and clean, so we'll clean them twice a day. And then at that point, we'll wait for our relief to come in to relieve us, to let us go home. And like I mentioned before, it's not like a regular job. So if you're scheduled to work 7 to 5, you can't just leave at 5. You have to wait for that coverage to come in. And that day is all dependent on no calls happening. So at any given time, whether you're getting groceries, or maybe you're working out in the gym, or you're cleaning the trucks, or you're cleaning the station, or you're having a meeting, whatever you're doing at that time, you could get a call, and that is the priority. You'd have to get up and be out of the station within 60 seconds. And so there's some days where it's extremely busy and you have a lot of calls and you don't even see the station, so you don't get some of the duties done. But there's other days that it's a little bit slower, so the calls are the number one priority. In terms of sports with the fire service, we have a lot of different sports teams, so depends what sport you're interested in. We have, you name it, we have different sports teams that go to different tournaments, so it's very fun to be involved with those sports teams and have that active lifestyle. We also support a lot of different charity groups. So some of the main ones being the Firefighter Memorial, the Pipes and Drums, the Burn Treatment Society, and Muscular Dystrophy Canada. So we're very involved in raising money for those organizations. Our schedule, we work a shift work schedule. So it's 2 days, 2 nights, 2 days off, 2 days, 2 nights, 6 days off. And that cycle repeats itself basically for the rest of your career. We have 4 platoons. And if you're looking at the schedule now, so I'll look at, this is from January 2021. So Tuesday, January 5th, since red is on the first half of the day, that means it's a day shift. So red is 2 platoon. So the 5th and the 6th, those are day shifts. The 7th and the 8th, those are night shifts. The 9th and 10th, you have off because there's no red on it. The 11th and 12th is 2 day shifts. The 13th and 14th are 2 night shifts. Then since there's no red on the next 6 days, you have 6 days off. So what I like to say is it's a very unique schedule because every 10 days you have 6 days off. So if you want to go to Mexico every 10 days, you have the ability to do that. So that's pretty unique about our job. Our day shifts are 10 hours long, and our night shifts are 14 hours long. So like I said before, when it comes to working every single day of the year, 365 days a year, there's some days that you might have to work that you don't want to work necessarily. So maybe you're working Christmas, or you're working a birthday, or you're working an anniversary, or you're working a day that you have an event booked. So we're very fortunate to be allowed to trade our shifts. So if I worked a day and I needed that day off, I'd reach out to my coworker Manjinder here and say, Manjinder, can you please work this day for me? And he would say yes, because he's a good guy. And then I would owe him a shift. So that's how that works. So you have the ability to take any shift off as long as you trade it. As well, when you start with Edmonton Fire Rescue Services, you get 3 weeks vacation. So, and that amount of allotted vacation will go up as you go throughout your career.
Here you can see the calls that we responded to as a department in 2021. The largest portion of calls, as you can see, were medical calls, and that makes up almost 70% of the calls that we respond to. The next biggest portion would be alarms, and those could be false alarms, whether they're residential or commercial. And then the next one would be fire suppression. These are all the fires that we go to, whether they're like fires outdoors, structure fires, or house fires, businesses, or car fires, anything where there's flame showing. This is the category that would fall into. And the next one would be service requests, and then after that would be dangerous goods. And this ties in with the specialities that we were talking about before, like the hazmat team. This is where they would be responding to and assisting the first responding crews with their specialized equipment and training. This slide shows the pay scale starting from probationary firefighter, so from the day 1 of training school, all the way up to if you were to retire as a station captain. As you can see, each year until you hit first class, which is in the beginning of your fifth year with Edmonton Fire, you get that pay raise of around $10,000 a year. And once you're at first class, that's when it's equivalent to doing a trade and you're working your way through your apprenticeship, and you would be classed as a journey person at that stage. This is where we see as a first class firefighter that by this stage you will have all the skills and the knowledge to be where you need to be, and then to potentially pass that on to the next generation of firefighters coming in as well. And as you can see, as you keep moving down, when you get to station captain, hopefully you've been able to get 30 years of service in. One of the big benefits of this job is that with 30 years of service, we class that as a full pension, and that pension is paid at 60% of your best 4. So if you finish off your career as a station captain making 130,000, 60% of that is roughly 78,000 a year. So that's a pension that allows you to continue living the lifestyle that you have actually come accustomed to whilst at work.
And since we are a union, these wages are all negotiated by our union and the City of Edmonton. So these wages are actually from 2018, so they're about 4 years out of date. So these wages have a tendency to potentially change as they're constantly getting negotiated. So in Edmonton Fire Rescue Services, we are very fortunate to have a lot of health and wellness initiatives. Health and wellness is extremely important to the department. So there's a lot of different things that we offer. We have a non-punitive medical that we go through every year, and that does a lot of pre-screening for cancers. It's a very thorough physical that you can do to make sure that you're healthy, and you can do that every year, and that's covered by the department. We have a lot of different fitness evaluations that we could do with our personal fitness team. If you're looking at potentially changing up your routine, they'll help you with that. If you want to just make sure you're healthy, they'll help you with that. So there's a lot of options there. We are very fortunate as well to be given 2 sets of bunker gear. So this is a relatively new initiative. We're in the fire service. We have 2 brand new sets of bunker gear that are custom fit for us. So if we have a structure fire and we're exposed to carcinogens and toxins, we are able to take our gear, bag it, send it away for cleaning, and use a fresh gear so we're not breathing in those contaminants. We also have an active release therapy, so if anyone has any injuries, we can use that as well, and that's free of charge, that's covered. As well as we have a lot of different resources for health and wellness through our benefits. So mental health is extremely important within our fire service. As with any other careers, well, especially first responder career, firefighters see a lot of things that you might typically not want to see. That might be one of the biggest drawbacks of the job. You go to people's emergencies, and there's things that might affect you and stay with you. That being said, with Edmonton Fire Rescue Service, there's a strong focus on maintaining our mental health. So we have a peer support team that is full of firefighters that we can reach out to and help us in any time we need. We have employee assistance programs. We have the city chaplains who we can reach out to and chat with if we need that. And we have call debriefs. That's something, so if you as a crew go to a call that might be considered a very traumatic event and it affects you, from my experiences, we get back to the station. Our captain can take us out of service, and we could debrief that as a crew. And we're very fortunate that our captain will allow us to do whatever we need to do to get back to the right mindset in order to be able to respond to emergencies again. Whether that's have a shower, whether that's speak to someone else, another firefighter. But we're very fortunate that this is such an importance, and I feel that we are taken care of very well in this department.
This slide shows some of the sample backgrounds that we have with regards to our current membership. All these backgrounds bring something unique to the team, and it's this diversity that makes Edmonton Fire so strong and so good at what we do. Any one of these backgrounds can bring something to any one of the calls that we go to. Essentially, when we turn up at a call, whether it's a medical or a fire or any kind of like service call, it is essentially that there is a problem there that we need to work together as a team to solve. And skills that we bring from, whether it's previous military experience, whether someone was a teacher, whether someone was an electrician or a plumber, they will have inside and background information or knowledge that can always help expedite the call that we are on and prevent any further damage happening to any kind of property or any person as well. Here are the minimum requirements to apply for a job with Edmonton Fire. You must be minimum age of 18 years old, have a grade 12 diploma, medical training, which is advanced first aid course of minimum of 80 hours in length, have a valid class 5 to apply, and at the time of a job offer you must be able to obtain a valid class 3 driver's license with air brakes, which is a Q endorsement on there. Have a criminal record search done, and that should be clean. Be a Canadian citizen or legal permanent resident, and have the ability to communicate clearly and concisely in English, and meet minimum visual and hearing standards, which we will go over in the next few slides.
These are all examples of advanced first aid courses that we will recognize. So the biggest takeaway here is that the course that you take is a minimum of 80 hours in length and is recognized by Occupational Health and Safety. So these are a lot of the courses done in Alberta. If you are applying from out of province, we might not recognize your medical certification. So if you wanted to email us, which we'll provide that email address later, and we'll let you know if we'll recognize the course that you have. These are vision and hearing requirements. So these have changed over the last few years. I know when I applied back in 2013, 2014, the vision requirements were very strict and I had to get laser eye surgery. You weren't allowed to have glasses. But now we've implemented the NFPA 1582 standard. so you're allowed to have glasses on the job. So as long as your vision is 20 or 40 or better, corrected with glasses or contacts in each eye, or 20, 100 uncorrected in a worse eye, you will meet the requirements and you will be eligible to become a firefighter in terms of the vision standards. So that's very good that we went that way. So if you have glasses and you can at least see 20 or 40 or better with your glasses on, then that will be acceptable.
Here we can see an outline of the recruitment process and the time entailed for it takes. So the application process starts with the submitting of an application, which is in January. Then in February we screen those applications, and the people who have been successful at that stage move on to an aptitude test, which will be taking place in March this year. And then those individuals who meet the minimum requirements and are above the threshold there will move on to the multiple mini interviews and resume reviews, which will be taking place in April. The next step after that is a physical fitness test, which will be taking place during the months of June and July. And those individuals who pass that stage will move on to the final interviews, which will be taking place in August. Then in September, this is where we make the eligibility list. And the eligibility list is essentially the top scoring 100 applicants that we have had throughout the whole of this process. They'll put into groups, and then we inform each group if and when they are going to be called to class. Anybody going through this recruitment cycle this year would potentially be joining the recruitment class of 2024 in February, March.
If you have a demanding schedule and you're worried about being able to participate in each step, we are very accommodating and can be flexible. So within the aptitude test, the interviews, the physical assessment, final interviews, there's a bit of flexibility there for your schedule. So don't worry about that.
Yeah, they will send out open dates, and then it's just a case of responding to that email and picking the date that does suit your schedule.
For the 2023 recruitment process, there's a few minor tweaks that we've done, and these are the 3 items that we're going to highlight throughout this presentation. We've implemented a resume review. Our interview process has changed to a multi-mini interview process, which I'll touch on in the next slides. And then we also inducted a final interview portion. The resume review has been implemented to give us a more comprehensive evaluation of each candidate. What we will do is we'll score your resume on different tangible and intangible things derived from work experience, skills, and abilities. This is done early in the recruitment process, and this accounts for 10% of your overall score at the end of it. So we will evaluate things like first responder experience, military experience, post-secondary education, trades, volunteer experience, and if you have a second language, that's extremely important for us. So that's something new that we've implemented for this year. These are the Chief's 6 vision dimensions. These are extremely important to know if you make it to the interview stage. We will send out a study prep guide prior to your interview, which will give you a lot of information on how to prepare for this interview. And we really recommend that you focus on the Chief's 6 vision dimensions because the interview questions may align with these vision dimensions.
And the Chief's vision dimensions, they build off of all the core values and our pillars of competence that we spoke about earlier in this presentation as well.
So previously and traditionally, we've done our interview process by using panel interviews. So last year we had 2 panels derived of 3 individuals. There's a station captain, an HR representative, and an individual from our outreach and recruitment team. Now we're moving forward, we're doing a multi-mini interview. So basically this is a series and sequence of stations. At each station, the interviewee will be asked 1 question. They'll have 2 minutes to read the question, and then they'll have 5 minutes to answer the question. Then the candidate will rotate through each station until they're done all the stations and answered all the questions. Why we went with the multi-mini interview is we found that this would ensure consistency in the scoring, since the same individual would be asking the same question for every single candidate. It also saved time for our recruitment process, as last year we interviewed roughly 200 candidates and it took us 6 weeks. With the multi-mini interviews, we can do the same amount of candidates in roughly a third of the time.
This process also works really well with regards to removing bias from the process, and it makes it aligns it more with the blind recruitment process, which is what we're trying to aim for, where it's a more fair and equitable process for all those involved. How to apply. You can visit our website at joinefrs.ca, review the job requirements, and here you can also complete and submit the application form for this process of this year for January 2023. And don't worry if you do hit submit and later on you find that you want to add something or you want to edit your application. You do have until the end of January to go back in again and make the changes or upload any other supporting documents that are required or missed at the initial stage. Common application errors. Sometimes what we find is that the documents that are required are not submitted, or certificates did not align with dates required in the posting.
As of 2020, proof of enrollment in a course is no longer valid. So what that means is if you submit your package and say that you've enrolled in a course that finishes in February or March, we will not accept that. Unfortunately, you need to have your advanced first aid certificate or medical certificate done prior to the month of January, the intake. The only thing that HR will accept is if you've successfully completed this course and you're just waiting for your actual certificate in the mail. So as long as you can provide unofficial transcripts saying that you completed the course, then we will accept that. We have our application checklist highlighted here. So it's very minimal to what you actually need to apply for Edmonton Fire Rescue Services. I know there's a lot of different fire services throughout Canada that require your 1001s and your primary care paramedic license as a minimum to apply, but Edmonton Fire Rescue, we don't require that at all. All you need is your resume, proof of high school diploma or equivalent, which means if you have a higher education like a post-secondary certificate, diploma, or degree, that your high school diploma was required to get accepted into that program, we'll obviously accept that certificate. And like Manjinder said earlier, all you need is your class 5 now to apply. This was changed recently. Once you get a letter saying that you're starting recruit class, at that point you'll need to get your class 3 in and your air brakes and prove that you have it. And then obviously only one of the following medical certifications that we have listed here that we recognize. So you don't need all of them, just one of the above.
With regards to obtaining your class 3 with air brakes, just be aware that once you are called to class, there may or may not be enough time for you to get that course, depending on where you are and how those courses fill up in and around where you are. So just do your homework, do your research, and make sure that you know where the classes are and the time that they run.
This is our aptitude test. So traditionally, prior to COVID, we did this in a big room at the U of A where we'd have 500 applicants write a test together. But since COVID, we had to move it online. And going into the future, we're going to continue this test online. This removes barriers from individuals from out of town that want to apply, so they do not have to come to Edmonton to actually write this test. So this is all done online, like I mentioned. It's about 80 to 100 multiple choice questions that is timed. You actually, to do very well in this, you do not require any fire experience. So don't worry if you don't have any prior fire training or experience, you could still do really well on this exam. Edmonton Fire Rescue Service contracts this exam out to an external agency just to ensure that the questions aren't repeated. And there's 5 major components of this test. There's the mathematical component, there's mechanical aptitude, there's reading comprehension, there's a mapping section, and there's also a section of working relations, which is more situational based. So in terms of the mathematical section, you are not allowed to have a calculator. So there's a lot of things that you can do to prepare for this. So there's a lot of aptitude prep books that you could purchase. I know Chapters has a lot. There's a lot of different ones on Amazon. And a few other pointers that we could highlight is that if you're not comfortable with your math skills, long division, subtraction, fractions, multiplication, things like that, ensure you practice those. And you could also get tutors to practice these components. So the aptitude test is split up those 5 major components. Like I said before, it's not ever the same test, but it's similar components and similar questions. And it's split up between those 5 sections equally throughout the test.
It's as we said before, those individuals that we see doing the best overall are the ones that prepare for each stage as it comes. And so it's just like any difficult situation that you have in life. If you can compartmentalize and break it down into manageable components and tackle each one, you'll find that overall you'll do a lot better.
And this test, this aptitude test, has a charge of $50 to write this.
Here, now we're going to be talking about the physical fitness test, which is done at the University of Alberta. This test is now a pass-fail, and it simulates activities that firefighters must be able to perform on the job. With all the gear on, regarding the fire pants, the jacket, the helmet, gloves, and the SCBA pack, you will be carrying around 20 kilos, so that's about 45 to 50 pounds in weight in total. Some of the tests that you will be doing on the day, it starts off with the treadmill portion, and then there are 6 stations of job-specific tasks which are done after a 60-minute break, still at the U of A, but on the concourse below. Candidates must pass each station in the allowed time to be successful on the fitness test and to be able to move on to the next stage. What to bring? You will have a medical clearance form which must be signed by your doctor, and you need to have that with you, a physical copy. You'll need your government issue ID, customer service centre receipt, the appropriate clothing, so you'll need running shoes for the treadmill test. Make sure you've got, because like I said, after the treadmill test, that is a 60-minute window for hydration and nutrition. And you also need towels and a lock for the locker if you're requiring to use one. Tips: what we recommend is that you arrive well nourished and well rested. Practice in advance to know the amount to eat and drink during 3 hours of intermittent and extremely strenuous exercise. Avoid alcoholic beverages for at least 24 hours prior to test, and avoid smoking and caffeinated beverages for at least 2 hours prior to the test, and avoid eating for at least 2 hours prior to the test also. We recommend not eating or drinking anything differently on the day of testing that you wouldn't normally do when you've been training and in preparation for this test itself.
We're going to start with the treadmill component of the test. What this is encompassed is a 5-minute warm-up, and as you can see in the picture, the individual is wearing running shoes and the whole firefighting ensemble. So it's a 5-minute warm-up, walking at 3.5 miles per hour, and it steadily increases the incline for that 5-minute warm-up. The constant work rate phase is 8 minutes long, and you're walking at 3.5 miles per hour at 10% incline. After that, that is considered a pass, so that's a total of 13 minutes, the 5-minute warm-up and the 8 minutes constant work phase. You'll have a 5-minute cool down, and after this test, you'll have 60 minutes before you go to the job-related tests. Before I move on, I just wanted to say that the U of A physical has a cost of $370 plus tax, so you could be eligible to participate. Some tips that we find have been very beneficial for candidates is that they can simulate the heat stress as well as the weight. So if you wanted to wear a winter jacket or a hoodie to kind of simulate that heat stress, and what individuals have done is wear a backpack and put maybe some weight in it, textbooks, sand, a dumbbell to simulate that weight of about 40 to 50 pounds total. We found that works really well. If you've never worn bunker gear before, the heat stress and the weight will be very surprising. So if you could try to simulate the heat and the weight, we found that that's been very beneficial for individuals in the past.
Yeah. Another thing that catches some individuals out as well is that they don't prepare for having their nose plugged and having to breathe through that tube, which is where we catch the VO2 max. It's not something that you need to do for every single time you're out there on the treadmill training for it, but just at least do it once or twice, just so that you are familiar with maybe like having your nose plugged with a swim clip, and maybe using a snorkel or something, so that you just experience that, so that there's no surprises. And that's one thing about all this physical testing, that there are no tricks, there's no surprises. All these the upcoming slides that we outlay all this on, they're all available at the U of A website as well, and it has all the information there too.
So after the treadmill component, after you pass the 13-minute threshold and the cool down, you'll have 60 minutes in between to rest, recover, hydrate, and eat if you need that, if you're required. This is the first station in the job-related tasks. This is the equipment carry. So what you're required to do is hold a cutter spreader that weighs about 20 kilograms, and you have to hold it at each target for 30 seconds. You're not allowed to support it against your body, and this is a test essentially of grip strength. This is the charged hose advance. So what you're going to do is you're going to take a charged hose full of water and you're going to carry it over your shoulder and you're going to walk all the way to the end of the mat. The biggest tip and pointer that we could give you at this point is to really lean into it and do not stop your momentum. Continue that forward momentum and use your body weight to really lean into that hose, because as you drag it, the longer you go, the heavier it's going to get. So with each of these job-related tasks, there's an allowable time window that as long as you fall within that window, and for this charged hose advance, it's 27 seconds or less, then you will pass that stage.
This is the weighted sled pull. You will use the rope to pull the sled over the floor a distance of 15.24 meters, which is about 50 feet, 3 times. Each time you will pull the sled and then to the markers, as you can see in the video there, you will see it as it runs, and then you will walk to the other side, and so it's a pull, walk, pull, and you'll do that 3 times, and there is no running allowed. And in order to pass the test, you must complete all aspects of the simulation safely and with correct form and within 110 seconds or less. This is a forcible entry simulation. You will use a sledgehammer weighing about 4.5 10 pounds, and you're going to strike the device, and the idea is to move it at predetermined distance, and at which point you'll know that the test has been ended. Some of the tips and tricks that we give with this is, if you've never really used a sledgehammer, is to practice with the appropriate weighted sledgehammer and get a big tire and just hit that, because that is actually what we used to use before the U of A bought this device. You do have 19 seconds to complete this, so it must be done in 19 seconds or less to be successful. A tip for this test is to make sure that you are striking with the sledgehammer straight and you're not wasting energy or force hitting it at up or a downwards angle, because we find that a lot of applicants who don't strike at a tangent to the device, that they are just wasting energy, and it does take that many more strikes. And like we said, all these are timed events, and after each exercise or each event there is a 3-minute rest recovery period, and the harder you're working, the more time it's going to take for you to recover as well. So we want everybody to be successful. Like we said before, there's no tips, there's no tricks, or we're not trying to trip anybody up here. The whole team at the U of A, along with all of us here, we want people who are getting to this stage to be successful and do the best that they can.
The next station is the victim rescue. You're going to take a mannequin weighing approximately 183 pounds and you're going to drag them through a series of cones to bring them back to the original starting position. This is simulating rescuing a patient or rescuing a fellow firefighter. You have 57 seconds or less to accomplish this successfully. The last station is the ladder climb. You're going to climb the ladder up to 10 rungs and back down 5 times, and you have to make sure you have both feet on the top rung and both feet on the floor. The biggest thing here and takeaway from this is to climb the ladder smoothly and effectively. Don't try to rush it to avoid the ladder from bouncing. If you're not comfortable or you haven't been on a ladder or used a ladder before, that's okay. There'll be plenty of time to practice prior to actually being timed. And you have 97 seconds or less to accomplish this feat of climbing the ladder 5 times, 10 rungs up. So these are a bunch of different recruitment activities that we're currently involved in. Job, career fairs, a lot of different things. But the thing I really want to highlight on this is the ride-along number. So we're very fortunate to offer a ride-along program. So if you're interested in becoming an Edmonton firefighter, you can call this number, 780-496-3785. So that's 780-496-3785. And you'll be able to do a ride-along with a crew for an entire day. So you'll go on the calls with the crew, you'll eat with the crew, you'll work out with the crew, whatever they do that day, you'll get to experience that. And that will give you a better insight if this is something that you actually want to pursue as a profession and a career. As we mentioned throughout this presentation, there's a lot of different ways to prepare to become an Edmonton firefighter. So as long as you feel that you have applicable experience to firefighting, then that's a great way to prepare. So these are just some examples that we have. So these are the contact information we have for you. Unfortunately, you're not here in person, so we can't give you a card, but the top email is firefighterrecruitment@edmonton.ca. That goes to our HR department and our talent acquisition department. The bottom email is for our outreach and recruitment team, FRSoutreach@edmonton.ca. So if you have any questions about a recruitment process or the Edmonton Fire Department, feel free to reach out to that. If we don't know the answer, we'll find the answer for you.
If you do have any questions, feel free to go to our website at joinefrs.ca. All the information that is required for any applicant to go through the process and be successful is there, and we are also going to be linking a frequently asked questions fact sheet there as well. And as Graydon mentioned previously, that if you do have any other questions, whether it's regarding the process or anything like that, you can always use that email that he highlighted in the previous slide, which is FRSoutreach@edmonton.ca.
Thank you for taking the time to listen to our presentation, and thank you for your interest in Edmonton Fire Rescue Services. We look forward to seeing your application. Have a great day.
Yeah, thank you.